Welcome to Catholic Feedback. I'm your host, Keith Nestor. On this podcast, we connect the eternal truths of the Catholic faith with everyday life. Send in your questions and comments to feedback@catholicfeedback.com. This podcast is brought to you by Down to Earth Ministry, a ministry of stewardship, a mission of faith, and by the generous support of our patrons. For more information, please visit downtoearthministry.org. That's down, the number 2, earthministry.org. Let's get to it. Welcome to Catholic Feedback. I'm your host, Keith Nestor, and on this podcast, we connect the eternal truths of the Catholic faith to everyday life. And today is a first. Many people have asked me, hey, Keith, why don't you ever have any girls on your show? And, it's a great question. And, well, guess what? Today we do. We don't have just any girl. We've got that one girl. That one Catholic girl. Some of you guys know who I'm talking about. She has a fantastic YouTube channel. She's an amazing apologist, and she's super awesome. So we're going to welcome Vanessa from That One Catholic Girl YouTube channel to Catholic Feedback. So how you doing, Vanessa? Thanks for being here.
Hi, Keith. Thank you for having me. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm glad that we get to finally talk to each other here, because I usually just message you on Twitter or something, or yeah, comment on your videos or whatever. But it's good to have you here. How are things going on your end of the world?
It's a little interesting here. So I live in Los Angeles, California, for those of you who do not know. And so we're still on lockdown, and I think they recently just started opening up parishes more, like you can go indoors, but this is like something totally new. So it's a little strange over here. We're trying to get back to normal, so that's what we're dealing with. So
when's the last time you actually got to go to Mass?
It's been a while, if I'm going to be entirely honest, like probably earlier this summer, probably, just because they've been on lockdown for like so long, and then our governor made it like we couldn't sing in Mass and we couldn't go, and then there was this SSPX church who sued the governor, and that's the whole reason why we're allowed to go again.
Oh, wow. That's incredible.
You have to reserve seats to go. Like, you have to reserve to go to Mass, you have to reserve a seat, and it was only outdoors. And then, like, here in California, I mean, I'm making total excuses, but the weather sometimes isn't ideal. Like, we'll have, like, 113-degree weather
Okay,
days.
I was going to say, wait a minute. Like, where I live in Iowa, it's freezing cold. And like, Southern California is, like, the perfect weather. And I can't imagine that you have a scenario where it's not ideal.
Yeah, well, it gets really hot, but then I'm also a wimp to the cold. Like, I go for walks at night, and it's 55 degrees, and I'm freezing. I have, like, 2 jackets, 2 pairs of pants on, a beanie, and gloves. I probably look crazy, but I have to keep warm.
That's hilarious. Well, I guarantee you our listeners in like Minnesota and Wisconsin and Canada are probably just like, what is the deal with that? But
I know, right?
Okay, so I first found out about you, I think I saw your YouTube channel and I thought it was really cool. And then you showed up in the Rosary Crew one day, and I was like, I know who that girl is. So then I went back and I looked at your channel again. I'm like, yeah, I remember seeing her stuff before. So tell us a little bit about your background and how all that got started for you. Did you grow up in the Catholic Church, or are you a convert, or tell us kind of how that came to be for you?
So I'm a cradle Catholic. My parents raised me Catholic, but we weren't very practicing. Like, we didn't go to church regularly. We went to confession like when they required us to, like for confirmation and First Holy Communion. However, I feel like God was always chasing me to, do something in the church or like teach about the church. So I'm a cradle Catholic, like how I mentioned. But I remember in 8th grade, the parish that I attended was actually burnt down. Someone set it on fire, and it was to the ground. And I remember in 8th grade being just like so passionate about the faith. And then in 8th grade, in order to graduate, I had to do community service. And not a lot of people know this. I actually went to Lutheran school for like 10 years. So I was like raised like with a Lutheran faith. And even though I was Catholic, I was doing communion and stuff like that, but I was raised like in a Lutheran school. And so then in 8th grade, in order to graduate, we had to do community service, and I didn't know what to do. So my church, the church I attend that before it got burnt down, they asked me to teach classes or help out teach classes. So I was teaching communion classes to like the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd graders. And then that ended, and then confirmation came around, and I needed to do community service for confirmation, and I put that off until like the last few months. And the director was like very upset with me because I showed no initiative. So she asked me to be an assistant to her. And so I was helping her out. I was printing out papers. I was helping lead classes sometimes. And so I'm like, okay, that was fun. Once confirmation was over, I was like, all right, whatever, moving on. And then in 2016, I actually got into a relationship with a Baptist. And I didn't know anything about the faith. And we were sitting down one day and he asked me who Our Lady of Guadalupe was. And I had absolutely no clue. I was just like, is she Mary? Who is she? He's like,
Wow.
where is she in the Bible? And I had no clue. And I'm half Mexican, also live in Los Angeles. So Our Lady of Guadalupe is painted everywhere, but I had no clue who she was. So I quickly ran to the bathroom with my phone and I Googled it for him because I was like, I don't want to come off as dumb. And I taught him about her and I fell in love with the story. And then he was like in the relationship, we had like little points of argument. He didn't want to raise the kids like celebrating Halloween. And I love Halloween. So I started learning about that. And slowly but surely, like I started falling in love with the faith that I would just buy a bunch of books to teach him about the faith. And he wasn't listening. So what I decided to do was I decided to make a YouTube channel. And I've always wanted to do YouTube. Like I have a YouTube channel from when I was 12 where I was doing music videos. And I decided if I made a YouTube channel, if he's a supportive boyfriend, he has to watch my videos. And he did, but he watched them on mute. And then so this was in 2018. Later that year, we broke up, and I was left with a YouTube channel, and I was left with like the small group of people that would watch me. And so I posted this recently on my channel. I was like the truth behind my channel because a lot of people thought that I made this channel, that one Catholic Girl channel. I made it in a weird way. Like I didn't want to be into the faith as much as I was. I wanted to convert someone so it'd make it easier for me to marry them. And then the channel just came to be. We're almost at 3 years on the channel, and we
Wow.
have around 4,000 subscribers. So the community has grown, and I am so blessed. Like, I'm so glad God chased me all those times. I never thought I'd be where I am.
That is such an interesting story. How, a lot of times people, you hear the whole phrase like missionary dating and how you shouldn't do that. Well, and I agree with that. But I think it's interesting how you're dating this guy, trying to help him to understand just what is some of this stuff. That's what Our Lady like grabbed you with the whole Guadalupe thing. I think that's so amazing. What an interesting way to come alive in the faith. And I think that's like a testament to some of the stuff that we do with technology and digging into things. It can really help us with our faith. So
Yeah.
so once you decided that you were going all in on this, he was just like, forget that. I'm not doing that anymore.
Well, you know what? I have gone through like a few hardships in my life. Like I've moved around a few times. Like I haven't been the most fortunate. I mean, I live in the United States, so I'm very fortunate. But there's been times in my life where like we've kind of hit rock bottom. And I realized there was a confirmation class I took, and they showed a video and they said, make sure God is the foundation of your life. Like, just make sure He's the foundation. So, going forward in my life, I decided that's what I'm going to do. No matter what happens, God's the foundation. So, when we got into the relationship, I wanted to make sure that God was the foundation of that relationship. And if we were to break up, God would be the foundation of that breakup. And I remember the day that we broke up, he was putting on a play at his church about the horribleness of Halloween. And I was
Oh,
trying to be super supportive, and I was trying to get him to like come to something at my parish. I thought maybe if I went to his church every single day, he would maybe come to mass one time. And so I went with him, and there was a prayer service after this play, and I prayed, and I was just like, God, if I'm not supposed to be with him, let me know. And I knew in my heart I wasn't supposed to be with him anymore. Like we're around 2 years and 7 months. I was just like, you know what? I think that this relationship, the purpose of it, it's been done. And so I turned to him. I said, you know what? I don't think we're supposed to be together anymore. And he's just like, yeah, I don't think so either. And so when we broke up, a lot of people were like, why aren't you mourning this breakup? But really, it's because God was the foundation of that breakup. Like the purpose of the relationship was over. He brought me to the faith, and I pushed him in a way of us trying to come closer together in the faith. Ended up pushing him more into his church. Like he started going to church regularly, and he pushed me more into the Catholic Church. And
wow.
so I have him to thank,
That's
honestly.
incredible to think that even in a situation like that. And this is just kind of hitting me right now is that sometimes I think when we are trying to explain the faith to other people, oftentimes, even if they don't receive it, which I'm sure you deal with a lot in what you do, even if they don't receive it, oftentimes we receive a huge benefit just from that conversation
Yeah.
because it makes us it makes us all have to go back and learn our faith even more. When you know that you're going to be having a conversation with somebody who doesn't agree with you or doesn't get it, and you want to explain to them, what's that going to make you do? It's going to make you dive in and dig in, and praise God for that. So it's kind of like, your road to become an apologist is an interesting one. But did you ever really expect to see that happen in your life, where you'd be making videos about Catholic doctrines and convincing people that the Catholic Church is the true church?
Absolutely not. Like, honestly, the whole point of me learning the faith was because I wanted to make it easy. I wanted to be able to get married in my church, and I didn't even know what that meant. I just was like, I want to get married in that building. Like, I knew that that's what I wanted, and I knew in order for that to happen, he would either have to agree to raise my kids as Catholic, or he would have to be Catholic himself. And so I decided, like, I'm gonna make this easy on myself. We're just gonna convert him. This is gonna be easy. He's Christian. It's gonna be easy. And something that he said to me. Sorry, I'll answer the question.
That's
But
okay.
you made me think of something. Once, something that he mentioned to me. I said his name was Juan. I was like, Juan, if I could find a verse in the Bible that says the Catholic Church is the church that Christ instituted, would you join? And he's like, no. He's like, I
Wow.
don't feel it. He's like, I don't feel it in my heart. So no matter how much I studied, no matter how many facts I proved to him, it made me realize that, like, I can give you all this information. It has to be a change in heart for you to come to the church. And it takes time, and everyone is on their own journey. And so that was something I learned. But I had no idea that I would be doing Catholic apologetics. Like I said, like, every single time that I was like doing something in the church, it was always kind of like God chasing after me. Like, I was kind of forced into it, and I enjoyed it every second, but I never chose to, like, teach classes. Also, I taught confirmation a few years ago as well. And so this was never something I expected. I always wanted to be on camera. Like, I would always film myself. I'd always like talk to myself. I'm a communications major, by the way. I graduated in May. And so I've always been one to like love to talk, and I would do little music videos. You could probably still find them on the internet. The YouTube channel that I'm posting on, I would actually post like story times about like just random crazy events in my life, and they were like getting no views. And then randomly one day I decided to sit down and just show everyone every Catholic book I owned, which at the time it was like probably like 25, which I thought was a lot. Now I have like a bookshelf of like hundreds, and I was just showing them all the books I had. And views came in, and I said, you know what, I'm going to teach people. I want to teach people. I want to teach the guy I was dating, but I want to teach other people. And I made it my goal that with this channel, I want to convert one person. And now my goal has shifted, where now I just want to help. I want to encourage people to research what they believe and why they believe it. Because once you start researching the Catholic faith, it's so hard not to become Catholic.
Oh
So.
man, I tell you what, I agree with that. There's something though that I found interesting in what you said about your friend who was just like, even if there was a Bible verse that said that, I won't do it because I don't feel it in my heart. That I'm impressed with his honesty about that, because what I find to be the case is a lot of people think that for us Catholics, if they just show us that one Bible verse, we'll be converted. And I remember when I was a Protestant trying to convert my first Catholic friend that I ever had, I used to think too, like, oh, I'll just find this one or two verses that'll prove to him that the Catholic Church isn't right. And boy, was I mistaken. The tables were turned on me, and I had to wrestle with this truth that I'm being read the scriptures, and I am choosing to say, no, that doesn't work there. That doesn't mean that. And for a guy who was like Bible only, I was realizing that there's a lot more to it than that.
Yeah.
And I feel like what you said about it's got to be a movement in the heart. I think that should be something that all of us should consider when we're having conversations with our non-Catholic friends. Sometimes it's about showing them information, and then sometimes it's just about letting God work in their heart, because you're probably not going to convince somebody based on an argument alone to become Catholic. And if you do, if your faith is based on an argument, then as soon as somebody else who's a better arguer comes along, you can be in some serious trouble. You know what I mean?
No, yeah, it's very true. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So, okay, so you're a young woman growing up in California, and you're this devoted Catholic. Like, as a young person, I know that there's a lot of people who have this picture in their mind of the Catholic Church as like for old people. And what's it like for you? Like, I mean, I assume that you hang out with your friends? Are all of your friends Catholic, or all of your friends part of your church, or do you have friends that are outside of that, and what do they think about what you're doing?
So my friend group is very small, but none of them are Catholic at all. I don't think that they
Wow.
know what they are, but they like to hear about the faith because I guess it's a little intimidating. I have like so I'm 23 years old. I want to get married, so I'm looking for a husband. So when I talk to guys, sometimes they'll come to me and they'll go like, "You're far too religious for me," or "You're far too serious about the faith," or it's like intimidating how much you know about the faith. So that can get a kind of hard sometimes because I think that, or at least how I'm perceiving people perceiving me to be, that maybe I may come off as judgmental to them sometimes, which I try not to be, and I'm not at all. But I think because sometimes we'll talk about something and I'll just have like a random fact about the Catholic faith. Like it's all I like to talk about. People ask me, what are my hobbies? I'm like studying the Catholic faith, making videos about the Catholic faith, practicing the Catholic faith. And so people are like, you are really religious. Like you're a hardcore religious person. I was just like, no, not even close. Like I'm not even there yet. Like I'm working towards it. So when I make friends, sometimes it's a little hard because people just assume like I'm crazy, religious person type of thing. But the one friend that I do have, she's super supportive of the faith. She got me like a Catholic prayer book for my birthday. And
Awesome.
one time we were in the car, yeah, one time we were in the car and we were driving, and I told her the story of Our Lady of Guadalupe, and she had to pull over because her eyes were crying,
Oh man.
and she was like tearing up, like she was crying. She was amazed by the story, and so God has blessed me in my life by, even though my group may be small, it's a really good group, and I'm so blessed to have them. But like my best friend is like my mom and my sisters and my grandma. But like none of my relatives are Catholic. My grandmother raised my aunts and uncles. My mom has 8 siblings. Well, she's one of 8. All of my aunts, except for one, turned Protestant or just moved away from God entirely. So it's kind of hard sometimes because I feel a little alone in it, because it is hard to make friends when you have like when you want to talk about God all the time. People don't want to talk about that in their early 20s or even in their teen years. So sometimes it gets a little difficult, but I feel I like being the one to stand out. I've always loved talking. I love doing debates. I love public speaking. So if I can stand out in any way, I'll do it. Like I wear my Catholic jacket around Walmart. I wear my Catholic and single mask around Walmart. Like I like kind of getting that attention. It's good attention. So I like getting that attention sometimes.
Well, people always say things like this, you attract what you are.
Mm.
And I think this is kind of a lesson. So I'm going to kind of speak as you know, the dad, whatever, because you're actually the same age as my daughter.
Oh.
And like one of the things that we talk about sometimes when I talk with young people, because I used to be a youth pastor, is set your standards for who you want to attract by how you are, right? Because you want to do two things with your behavior. You want to attract the kind of people that you want in your life, and you also want to repel the kind of people that are going to be bad for you. So if you're walking around with Catholic and single and Catholic stuff like that, that's going to do two things. That's going to bring people to you who are also interested in that and think that's cool. And it's also going to like keep some of the people who have bad intentions away from you, because they're going to see you and they're going to be like, "Oh, I don't want anything to do with that girl. She's, too religious or whatever." Hey,
Yeah.
praise the Lord,
Yeah.
because we have to be careful about who we let into our lives in that way. And, especially as a young person, I think too, it's important, but I know how that's got to be hard sometimes. I mean, I see it with my own kids. Sometimes it's hard to find young people, who you can practice the faith with and live the life of Christ with. And like we have a men's group at my church, and our group's pretty diverse age wise. And there's a young guy in there, I think he's 19. And then there's guys that are all the way up to like in their 60s in this group. And we all just we don't look at each other like, well, he's 19, he's 60, but the older guys help the younger guys,
Yeah.
and I think that's cool. So, okay, what challenges though I mean, you kind of spoke to this a little bit, but let's talk about like in the church, okay? What are some challenges that you think young people are facing right now in the Catholic Church?
Well, I mean, sin, obviously, but like purity, and also, especially here in Los Angeles, it's so hard to have traditional, or it's not so hard to have traditional values, but it's so hard to have people back you up for your traditional values. Like, I want to be a stay-at-home mom, and so I tell everyone that I want to be a stay-at-home mom. Like, I love doing what I'm doing, but if I could choose right now, I would just want to get married and have kids. Like, that's my job. I know that's what God has for me. And so it's so hard because that is looked down upon. And so there's like the society around me is telling me that I'm wrong for my life. Like, I'm wrong for like trying to remain pure and stuff like that. Like, because these women have done these great things for me. Like, why am I not taking advantage? And so it gets kind of hard because people around me perceive me as like crazy because I want to be closer to God. And so that's like a main thing. There's a lot of peer pressure because I have been pressured to do things that I'm not proud of. I've been pressured to talk about things that I'm not proud of. But I've realized that if it's not making me closer to God, then I need to step away from it. And I have fallen guilty, as we all, like, to temptation. But that's like a main thing, just like how everyone else around us, like, perceiving us in one way, and it's hard not to cave. That's one thing.
Yeah, I think that's important to think about because everyone has challenges no matter how old you are. And I remember back when I was your age, I remember I used to think, well, once you get older, you sort of like grow out of temptation or whatever it might be, and maybe some things you do, and it comes in different forms or whatever. But when you're young, I think you're still trying to like figure out who you are, and I just love how you are saying, this is who I am. This is what I want to be. But it does kind of break my heart that a person that is doing what you're doing, that you feel like other people are looking down on you, because I look at that and I go, well, that's the goal right there. I mean, for you to be able to be in that position and have those ideals, I just want to tell you, like, stay the course. Because I guarantee you, here's what I know is happening right now. There are older women that are watching you talk about this right now, and here's what they're thinking, Vanessa. Man, I wish I was like her when I was 23. I wish I would have had that sense of my faith, that sense of knowing what I want to do. Because the truth is this: a lot of us, when we're young, we think we know what we want to do. We're so far from God. We're so far from this, and we mess so many things up. And there's so much baggage that comes into our life later, and we just wish we could go back. So I'm just like, oh man, I'm so proud of you. And I guarantee you there are lots of women that are my age, or around my age, that are probably looking at you right now going, man, I just want to encourage that girl and tell her to don't compromise who you are. Don't compromise your convictions and your faith, because that's awesome. But I know that it does have to be tough. I mean, let me ask you this: like, even in the church, though, do you feel sometimes that young people are facing different challenges than, let's say, older folks are?
I think so. And like, I don't know if this is like answering the question that you're asking, but I was teaching confirmation with like 30 other people around my age, like some of them in high school and then some of them like in their early 20s. And we were teaching confirmation. We were on this core team, and I would like butt heads with a lot of the leaders on that team because I wanted to talk about the faith where they saw it as more of a social event. And so
Okay.
to attract people to the church, they would make it more of a social event for the students. And that was something where like we were almost like watering down the faith to bring people in. And so I had to make like a hard decision to leave the group because I tried helping it out as much as I could, but I ended up getting pushed out as an outcast where no one wanted to hear what I had to say, or like wanting to bring the students closer to the faith. So I had to make a decision to step away from the group and like move on to a different group, to maybe in a different church, or I don't know. It was a very hard decision for me, and I kind of wish I didn't leave, but I kind of got pushed out because I wanted to be invested in the faith. And it seemed as though we were trying to steer kids almost away from the faith, which was very upsetting. And so that's like a thing, that watering down Christianity to make it easier for people to receive, that was something that we were struggling with. And also, like, it is kind of strange for a group of like young people to be invested in the faith. You're looked at weird, or people don't take you seriously sometimes. Like, that's
Yeah.
something that I feel like I deal with sometimes, where or at least this is my perception, that maybe people don't receive me or take me as seriously just because I am younger. I don't have that many life experiences, and that why would I know anything? Like there's all these like older people who would know way more than me. And so that's something that I struggle with. And I'm wondering if maybe that's what the group leaders that I work with struggled with as well, where they felt that they kind of had to take on this young person persona.
I
I don't
think,
know.
yeah, what you said about, sometimes people think that in order to reach young people, they got to water things down, but the opposite is true. What we need to be doing as the church is showing young people a different way, not try to take the culture and make the church as much like the culture to say, hey, cool, we have fun things in here and we're not so
Yeah.
different than we can't do that. What we have to do is say, look, we're so completely different, so completely otherworldly than what you're experiencing in the culture, but also completely full of meaning and truth.
Yeah.
Because I think what young people are looking for is the same thing that what older people are looking for too, and that's meaning and that's truth. But sometimes I remember feeling like, when I was working with students, a lot of the church people have this they don't give kids enough credit. They don't give young people enough credit. And I remember people would say things like, well, we got to take care of our youth because they're the future of the church. And I would go ballistic because I'm like, no, they're the church now. They're not
Yeah.
like, you don't grow up as a Christian and then when you're 35, they hand you a little card and say, now you're a member of the church. But until then, I
Yeah.
mean, forget it. I mean, Timothy was a young man. And St. Paul told him, don't let anyone look down on you because you are young, but set
Mhm.
an example for the believers, set an example. And
Yeah.
I think that's one of the things that I liked about when I was watching some of your stuff on your channels. I'm like, you're setting an example, and
Thank you.
I think that's super super awesome. But kind of in that vein, I guess, what do you think the church needs to do to be more effective in reaching, young adults?
I feel like, and I don't know if this is just because I'm a part of it. I believe I'm a part of the Gen Z crowd because I was born in '97. I'm not too sure. I think I'm Gen Z. But what I've noticed around this community or this generation is that they kind of seem like they want to do what's right or they want to go back on course. Like at least that's what I've noticed when talking. Like for instance, I feel like there's this wave of like young like Catholic YouTubers and like a lot of my viewers, surprisingly, like I look at the demographics, I imagine them all being like my mother's age, but they're all much younger. And so I think that there's this like wave of like young Catholics who want to go back to the traditional church. And so I think a way to bring the young people in is just showing them the truth and that like getting them like excited about it. Like we're so excited about politics, we're so excited about TV shows, like maybe make them excited by showing like here's all this truth. Like is this not like crazy how amazing this is that we can prove it through scripture, through old church writings? Like that's what gets me. And I love debate, so maybe that's just myself, but once I learned that I could defend this, I got so excited. It gave me something new because I've always been really like active in arguing politics. Like I remember in second grade, I was debating about why one candidate was better than the other one. Like I've always been very vocal about my viewpoints. But once I found Catholicism and that I could defend it, I went crazy about it. Like I absolutely love it. And so I think the younger generation is on the track to want to get back to these traditional values since we've fallen like so far off that I think that that's like I don't know how I would bring people into the church other than just showing them the truth and getting them show that we're excited about the truth. That it's not
Yeah.
just us like doing these movements, but show that we're excited.
I think that's the key right there, Vanessa, is to have some enthusiasm and excitement about what you're doing, because what are people going to be attracted to? I mean, have you ever gone to a new restaurant because people were like, it was okay, you know?
No.
No, but when someone's like, man, this is amazing, you got to check this out, it's so good. Then even if you're not
Yeah.
even liking that kind of food, you'll go just to see. But
Mhm.
I agree with what you're saying. I think it's we're seeing that in like just in my own local parish. We have like a traditional Latin mass in my parish, and that parish has a lot of young families, a lot of young
Mhm.
people, and there's like it's just cool to see people are being attracted to things that are focused on truth and focused on the tradition, and they're not having the conversation going, well, hey, do you think we can get like a dancing bear in here to jump around and make this fun or whatever for the kids? I mean, they don't even care because they
Yeah.
want They want truth, but what we need to do is show people that it's awesome, not that it's mediocre and lame or, hopelessly medium, but that it blows our minds. And I think young people will do that. But I have to imagine that, the standard default young person, and I hate to stereotype people, but I see this with my own kids. It's like all of their main core group of people that they even talk to, the default position is so anti church, anti morality, anti Christ, like they're from their political views to their religious views. I mean, it's all about everything that's antithetical to the gospel, and it's got to be tough when you must feel alone sometimes in that. But I think you have to stand strong.
Yeah. And probably another thing that I would like suggest to, like, if I could make suggestions, is,
Absolutely.
and I already see this like being taking place in like churches, especially because of the lockdowns and churches had to start live streaming. I noticed that a lot more like parish priests are like doing YouTube videos or getting on like, Instagram or TikTok. Like right now, I just decided that I want to start doing TikTok. So I've been doing Catholic TikToks where I'll do like a minute segment of like, this is how to talk to a Protestant about this topic or this topic, because that's where all the young people are right now. And
Yeah.
so if there's a way that we could like trickle in and like make it more like normal for them to see, instead of something that only their grandmas do, but like, wow, there's this like young person on TikTok talking about the faith, then maybe that will get them excited. I think that we just need to show that what the church is, show the truth, and show that like you don't have to be an old person to be a part of the church. You don't have to be a theologian. And that's something I'm trying to teach on my channel. I have this like series right now called Catholic Snacks, where we talk about the faith in kind of like conversational terms. Because I think that there's this perception, and I had this too, where I had to be a theologian. I have a communications degree, and I thought no one would take me seriously because I didn't major in theology. I didn't go to Catholic university. I went to Cal State LA, which is a public university. I thought that people wouldn't take me seriously, but I want to show that it doesn't matter where you're starting from. It doesn't matter who you are, how old you are, how young you are. You can become passionate about the faith and be able to defend the faith.
Amen.
So that's what I'm trying to teach.
Yeah. I love that. I love that.
Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna talk about some girl stuff. Okay.
Okay.
So society tells you and you kind of alluded to some of this a little bit earlier, but society tells you that as a girl or a woman, that first of all, there's no difference between you and a man. There's nothing that you can't do, and all of this. And I just want to know, how do you respond to other women that want to tell you, well, Vanessa, what are you doing? You need to be, not thinking about this whole stay-at-home mom thing. You need to be empowered. You need to do this. You need to do that. Like, doesn't it bother you that you are a Catholic when the Catholic Church is anti-women and all this kind of stuff like that, and you're pro-life and all? I mean, how do you handle that as a 23-year-old woman in such a culture where that very idea is so offensive to so many people?
Yeah. It reminds me, I believe it was like my sophomore year of college. My professor wanted us to write a paper about the oppression of women. And I'm stubborn. I don't want to write about what my professors want to write about. So I decided that I wanted to write about how women aren't oppressed and how much of an impact they have made on the world. And so what I did was like I found all the like Marie Shelley, I chose the Virgin Mary, and I talked about in the Catholic Church how women play like such an important role, how many nuns there are, how many female Catholic saints there are, like how important it is to be a woman and understand that we're not less, we have our own role in the world. God has given us our own job, and that job is to be a mother. And so I have gotten pushback from a lot of people, or like, I mean, that's one role, to be a mother. That's what I want to do. And I have gotten pushback from a lot of people saying like, why would you do this? Like women have fought for your rights. And so what I just do is I just make sure that I, first of all, grounded in my beliefs, and I research a lot of stuff. It's a little difficult being pro-life and a woman because,
Yeah.
they want your opinion if you're a woman, but if you're pro-life and a woman, they don't want to hear from you anymore. And what's so funny is that the reason why I'm pro-life is not so much because of the church. Like I've been pro-life my entire life. I've been Catholic my entire life, but I've been like very vocal about being pro-life since I was very young. And that's all based off science. And so what I encourage like young females to do is that, you know what, you're going to get pushback. So you need to research why you believe what you believe. Don't just like go blindly and trust what everyone else says is right. And so that's what I do. And also my mother wasn't a stay-at-home mom at all, but she taught me boundaries, she taught me values, she taught me like the role of a woman. And I think that it really starts in the home. This teaching of what a woman is and what God wants for us. So
So you don't sound to me like you're sort of like relegated to this role and you're just like, well, I'm just trying to be obedient. I don't really want to be. I want to be doing all this other stuff, but I have to be this obedient, silent little woman. Like you don't sound like that. You sound like
no,
you've come to this place where you go, yeah, this is who I am and what I want to do. But at the same time, I don't hear you judging other people either. So um,
no.
I think that's awesome. Well, okay. So what do you say to other, I don't know, younger girls? Let's say you're talking to like a 16, 17, 18-year-old girl right now who's like coming into her faith, trying to figure all this out. What words of encouragement would you have for those girls?
Just stand strong and understand that Mother Mary is like our mother is looking down on us, and she's praying for us. She's keeping us in mind that we should make her proud. I work out in the morning, and this girl that I work out with on YouTube, I watch her YouTube videos. She says this like, don't do this exercise for me. Don't do it for anyone in the room. Do it for your future self. If you were looking at yourself right now, like, would you be proud of the burpee that you're doing? And so like then I do my burpees harder, and that's how I look at life. I think about what would future Vanessa be proud of me? What would make God proud? What would make Mother Mary proud? What would make my parents proud? And so I keep that in mind. And so I think about I think about starting now so that later on I know more. Like I kind of wish like when I was talking to Trent Horn about how at the time I was 22, I had met him and I was telling him how I'm into the faith, and he said, "Wow, I wish I was into the faith at 22." I was just like, "Wow, I wish I was into the faith at 16 because I would know so much more right now." And so I keep that in mind. And so I encourage other girls to keep that in mind because right now it may be fun to go out and party or like, sneak out of your parents' house, but like what is that going to benefit you in the long run? How is that going to make you a better person in the long run? Will your older self be proud of what you're doing right now? Would your parents be proud of what you're doing right now? And I keep that in mind. And I don't know if that's just like the way I work, but like for instance, like I don't curse. I didn't have a sip of alcohol till I turned 21. I never done drugs, never smoked type of thing. And I don't know if it's because I'm afraid of getting in trouble with my parents, or maybe I'm afraid of getting in trouble with myself. Maybe I'm afraid of making God mad. I don't know what it is, but I've always kind of had um this this thought process of like what I wouldn't be proud if I saw myself doing this. And so that's what I keep in mind a lot.
Wow, that's good advice. That's good advice. I think focusing on who you want to be and look back on your life. I mean, because we all have those moments where we go, oh, I wish I would have done this. I wish I would have done that. But to be able to think about that forward and say, okay, in 5 years, would I be happy with this choice that I'm making right now?
Yeah.
That's a really incredible way to look at things. So tell us a little bit more about what you have going on, your channel, the things that you're working on. Because every time I kind of run past your stuff, I see you've got new things happening, and you were doing like a news thing or something like that. And then these
Yeah.
Catholic snacks I think are cool. And don't you have like you have like a store now too, don't you?
Yeah, I do. I have been making rosaries since 2016. I bought my little sister. I always find the story kind of funny. No one else probably will, but I enjoy it. So for my sister's confirmation, I was her sponsor, and I bought her this little rosary kit from Walmart, and it was on clearance. It was $7 originally, and it was $3, and I'm like, perfect. This is a cheap gift. Like, it's good, but like, I was just like, you gonna make your own rosary, and I was like, it is $3. I don't have to spend a lot. So I gave it to her and she never used it. So finally one day I got tired of it sitting in our room and I decided I'm just going to make this rosary. And as I'm making the rosary, I realized why it was on clearance. We were missing beads.
Hmm.
The kit was missing beads. So I had to go out and buy beads. So I went out and bought beads. That's all I bought. And I used up the rest of the materials. But by that point, I had already used up some of the materials that I ran out of wire. And I ran out of string and stuff like that. So then I had to go to the store and buy string. So then I came back and I made the rosary. And then at that point, I had so much string and not enough beads. And so it created like this like thing of just me making rosaries because I would have too much of one item and too little of another item, and I'd replenish and it'd go like this, where I just started making rosaries, and I would just give them out because I've always wanted to sell things, but I'm the worst at taking money or receiving money. I just want to give everything for free. If I could do everything for free, I would, but that's not the way the world works apparently. And so
It's
I
not.
started. No, my dad tells me that all the time. He's like, Vanessa, you got to stop giving stuff away for free. And I was just like, I'm sorry, I can't help it. So I started the rosary store back in 2016. It was called Pray For Us Rosaries, and I was selling on Etsy. And then I stopped because I went out of town and I just never relaunched the store. And so recently, my sister's boyfriend Trevor, for Christmas, he bought me a domain, and it was thatonecatholicgirl.shop. And he's like, I really enjoy your rosaries, and I think that you should start selling them again. So I started selling rosaries, and then people had been asking like where I got this Catholic jacket from or sweatshirt from, and I had made it myself. I made it, and this is gonna like sound so wrong, but the guy who I was dating, I made it because I would go over to his house and they were Baptists, and I kind of wanted to irk them a
Oh,
little bit.
you like
So
stir the pot.
I love fight. I love arguing with people. So I made this. And I also would make rosaries and they're at their kitchen table. So I was being very bad back then. I wasn't really respecting what their household. I was just doing whatever I wanted. So I would make rosaries and I would wear the sweatshirt. And so people were asking me. So I launched a sweatshirt, and then I realized that in California we have to wear masks, and I don't know when we're gonna ever stop wearing masks. And I can't smile at people anymore. And I'm 23 years old, and I have to get married sometime. So I decided to launch a Catholic and single mask, which has been selling really well. So that's been my main focus right now. The Catholic, I just like to sell Catholic products, not really even for profits, just because I love people having things that I love. So I have that going on right now. And then the Catholic YouTube channel, I post on Mondays, and I'm going to try doing live streams again.
Yeah.
But my main focus is the Catholic snacks. And this is like something that's kind of a secret, but I kind of want to be held accountable. I decided that I wanted to write a book, kind of similar to Catholic snacks, like give people talking points, like not go so much in depth with like the Greek or like the major theology of it all, but give people a place to go if they want to talk about something with their Protestant brothers and sisters. So I'm starting to like outline a book. We'll see if I end up doing it. Maybe I'll just turn it into articles and I'll post them like on the shop website. But those are some things that I'm working on because I'm out of school right now. And so my main focus has been the channel for the time that I've been out of school, especially during the lockdown.
Well, I guess you heard it here first on Catholic Feedback that you're writing this book, so we're all going to
Yeah,
be asking you about it, and
I hope so.
it'll be fine. You'll do great, man.
Thank you.
Well, you have a ton of stuff going on, and I think it's super cool. So tell everybody where they can find your stuff and how they can connect with you and get one of those cool Catholic sweatshirts and one of your rosaries.
Okay, so my Catholic shop is thatonecatholicgirl.shop. Like no, there's no .com, no .net, it's .shop. So that's where you can find the store. You can find me on YouTube at That One Catholic Girl. It's like honestly, if you type in Catholic Girl Vanessa, I come up now, so I'm pretty excited about that. If you type in Catholic Vanessa, I think you come up because I start every video saying, "Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Vanessa," but some people still ask me my name, but my name is Vanessa. You can also find me on social media. I have like so many different Instagram accounts, but the main Instagram account that I use is That One Catholic Girl. On Twitter, I'm One Catholic Girl, and on TikTok, I am That One Catholic Girl, which I'm trying to get that up so that I can maybe reach a younger audience and teach them how to defend the faith. And I think that's the places where you can reach me at right now.
Okay, well, we'll put all those links down below.
Thank you.
And I encourage all of you guys that are watching this episode to subscribe to Vanessa's YouTube channel. I think I like watching it. It's a lot of fun because, you know, one of the things I like about your channel and your videos is like you don't mess around. You just like, this is what the video's about. And you're just like, hi, my name is Vanessa. Boom, I'm going to smack you over the face with this truth. And that's the end. You know, and I really like that approach. And I think that, you know, you can tell you put a lot of time and effort and research into your videos. And I think it's having a great impact. So I just want you to know how proud I am of you and thankful for what you're doing. And it just gives me great hope to see, you know, someone who, you know, your age who has really truly taken hold of the faith and is living it to the fullest. I think that's very inspirational. And I want to keep encouraging you to do that. So thanks for
Thank
being
you.
here on Catholic Feedback, Vanessa.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for those words. They're encouraging me. Sometimes I find myself not wanting to move forward, but those words that you have said, and also the way my subscribers respond to my videos, really encourages me to want to move forward in the faith and continue on this journey. So thank you guys so much for your support. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for watching Catholic Feedback this week, you guys. And you better believe we will have more women on this show. I'm not trying to like push the women out, and I've got a few of them coming up. So you guys are gonna be blessed by that. And of course, we understand. It's not about whether you're a man or a woman. It's about Jesus, and it's about your faith. But I think it's important to see all different types of people and how we all collectively come together to connect the eternal truths of the Catholic faith to our everyday life. So I want to thank you so much for watching this episode of Catholic Feedback. Please tune in next week for another episode. Take care and God bless. Thanks for listening to Catholic Feedback with Keith Nestor. Okay. Send in your questions and comments. Vanessa, you did a good job. Feedback at catholicfeedback.com. You didn't seem nervous when we were talking. This podcast is brought to you by Stewardship, a mission of faith, and is also supported by our team at patreon.com/Keith Nestor. Please consider joining our support team. Catholic Feedback is a production of Down to Earth Ministries. You came off totally fine. For more information about Down to Earth, or to bring me to your parish or event, I think people will really Earth Ministry are going to connect with that, and it'll be cool. There's a couple other